All right. Good afternoon, YouTube. We'll just do a Thursday live here. We haven't done it in a while since the last storm we had actually. We did that live from the chicken place. So I guess that's the last time we had that storm coming in last time. We got a storm coming in today. Um, I think this is the only storm we've had since then. It's been kind of a dry season so far. But I hope everybody's doing well. Thought I'd check in for a minute while we're finishing our burrito to see what's going on, to see how everybody's alien experience is going. Yeah, lots of wildness going on out there. Lots of just, I mean, what? How do you not be able to explain the whole drone situation? Like it don't make no sense. Like there's so many things that don't make sense, right? But I guess to touch on that topic, it's like if the government really cared, they'd be shot down by now. That's the only thing I would say. Like I don't even know why this is so up in the air. Like they know who it is and they're letting them do it, or they don't care, or it's theirs and they're just trying to test or something. Like they would have been shot down if they were really important. Like let it go after that. It's like the government's probing, the government is doing some kind of test on the population. It would appear based upon the way they're handling this, in my mind. Like it's ridiculous the way people getting all spun up about it. Nobody can get any answers. So they're not ours, they're not somebody else's. We don't know, but they're not private. Like, come on. Ridiculous. Guns Coast to Coast did a video about, like if he was to take his privately owned drone within anywhere near FAA airspace and even got slightly above his authorized, limit, like he would be grounded up and get a fine automatically. Like, and they don't know who these clowns are. Like, it's a clown show. It's definitely a clown show, and it makes you wonder what they're really trying to get at when they don't mention anything. But see, we got anybody checking in here? Where's the comment section at? Let's see if we can see any comments. But that's my observation of that situation. I think Guns hit it on the head when he said, if like any private citizens do this, they'd automatically be on the radar. But this is supposedly, we don't know. Yeah, I don't buy that for a second. So stay frosty on that end about like what's the real agenda. Is it conditioning? Is it just easing it in so the populace? Are they just testing things at night because they don't want you to see it in the daytime? Like, is it a real massive test? Is it a signal? Like, I don't know. But really don't like the whole way it's being handled. And, you see these videos, you're like, you never know what it could be. And then there is always the open possibility of, you've heard the descriptions in the Bibles of the angels' wheels, right? The wheels spinning. You read that description with multiple like eyes. Like, I wonder what that would look like in the dark. Something to ponder. The government definitely wouldn't tell you if it was angels and demons, right? They definitely wouldn't tell you that. So stay aware, stay frosty. But what's more important, that or somebody floated out there that the government should sell all their gold and get Bitcoin. Let that one go through your head real quick. Some guy who's associated at some government level and has influence has floated out there that the United States should sell all its gold to buy Bitcoin. And it's like, oh, you want to trade first of all, you have to believe that the government has any gold, which I doubt. But what little do they do have? I would say I don't think we have what we say we have. I think we have a lot less than what's reported. And to think we're going to sell what's left for Bitcoin for basically nothing, they're trying to push this as some asset. Like it's at best at its ultimately best, it is a digital currency that can be sent around the world. It has a bunch of flaws, a bunch that people just don't want to realize. people are trying to put a store of value into this thing that has tons of third party exposure and third party, um, risk. You are at risk by holding that because there are other people that control your money, basically. People control your currency if you hold Bitcoin. Other people can have the influence to shut you off from it or shut you off from using it unless you go face to face. And really, the only advantage Bitcoin has over other things is, well, storage capacity, obviously, and instantaneous around the world use. After that, it's nothing. But some guy, I can't remember his name. That's about the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. And people are actually like, oh, this is going to get us over on the bricks because we'll devalue gold to nothing and we'll hold the upper hand because Bitcoin will go to the moon. Like, you people have lost your mind. So that's the economic people we're dealing with these days. That's the kind of economic stimulus thoughts that we're getting out there in the various interwebs. And it's just like, man, I don't know if we're going to be able to survive all this. So that's really, when you look at it, like, what's really going on. I got some people in the chat now. Southeast Stacker, what's up, man? How you doing? Good to see you. I got some Cyrillic alphabet character. Well, I don't know who you are, but welcome. No translation there. Quantum reality, welcome. Yeah, and what if the power ever goes out, right? Which barter is always going to be available, right? Ultimately. But there's people that are locked in. And like I said last video, based upon my rudimentary analysis, if you look at trends and if the Bitcoin is tied to the debt, Bitcoin is going to $3 million. So if you want to ride that risk train and you want to ride that, have at it. But I'm not, even though you look at if it's baked in the cake that this is happening because nobody's reducing the debt, it seems to be accelerating with the pace of the debt, the value that they put on Bitcoin. Like, it's going to 3 million. So ride it out, enjoy, just be able to jump off that train before it goes off the tracks, that's my thoughts on that. But it is going to the moon. I don't see how it doesn't go to the moon because the debt's going to the moon. Somehow they continue to manipulate every real asset that's out there, which is interesting. What's up, Saints? Saints has checked in. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. Walter Davis, how you doing? Good to see y'all. It's been a minute, Walter. Hope those UFOs aren't coming near your AO, Walter. I know you're kind of in the region there, but I'm sure you would have done a video or something, or maybe I missed your video on the aliens, on the drones or the aliens, whichever it is. The government messing with us. Yeah, Saints, a lot of people don't care about what they hold. They think they own a lot of things that they don't. Our entire currency system is shot, and people are trying to find answers that aren't real. We've all been lulled to that fake sense of security over the and it's totally the bankers. The bankers have got this system locked up, right? Like, people don't see it. We're already in a pretty bad situation with the way our currency is handled and manipulated and devalued, and they want to go to something else that can be even more so, with no physical tie to reality. Like, there's no physical representation that you can hold on to or withdraw or actually hold. With your bank account, yeah, there's so many mandated direct deposit, mandated, savings accounts or whatever. They got everybody convinced they need a 401k and an IRA. And so there's all this fake representation of wealth out there that they got people tied up in. It's a disaster waiting to happen. You can put a fake debt on a fake coin. It's I'm talking about correlation. How if you look at how the value of the Bitcoin has went up exponentially with matching up with the national debt. Like they seem to be correlated. And uh, if you start the government buying that asset, you're going to have even more correlation because guess what? The government can just make their digits on a computer in debt to buy Bitcoin. So then it is literally just a representation of more debt. It's a total mind game with that. Walter says they have been over the farm a few nights ago. Been over the boat, missed them both times. Oh, okay. That's right. You have the boat down there. Yeah, I forgot about that. It's interesting, but you've missed them. Interesting. How can you do anything but assume that it's not a government program of some sort that they're just not going to talk about, that they're trying to condition people for, right? Guns Coast to Coast on his video earlier today made the comment. You remember War of the Worlds? The old radio program that from the 20s or 30s, whenever it was, started New Jersey. It's like interesting. So our alien invasion hoax is going to start in New Jersey, just like predicted. Or was it Orson Welles? Was that the name of the guy that kind of authored that? Orson Welles is stuck in my mind. I'm not sure if that's correct, but the old War of the Worlds original OG radio program that caused everybody to panic, which is interesting. These drones haven't seemed to cause a lot of panic, but a lot of concern. Like people videotaping, like, what are these things? Why are they here? Why is nobody doing anything about it? Nobody can give us answers. None of the government agencies from local up to the feds will say what is going on. They claim to not know. But again, back to Guns Coast to Coast point, if you fly a private drone up, they know who you are right away and they come and get you and will let you know. So that just leads you to believe it's them and they're just not telling you because they're trying to hide something or they're conditioning. About 15 miles from Fort Dix. Okay, yeah. Yeah, interesting days we're living there on that end. And what else was going on? So we haven't talked in a while about all the things obviously going on. We talked about doing all the things with, we talked about the garden and winter prepping in the video, but all the other things in the national situation, this supposed transfer of power, these nominations for all these cabinet positions that is just it goes back and forth. People get pulled back. Some people get presented. Everybody hates everybody. Still it's like this big circus. Really, it's just a big circus of the way that's going. We totally back this guy, recommend this guy. Oh, he's terrible on the Second Amendment. Withdraw that guy. Like, what a circus. And then you got these pardons that are going out, and they're just pardoning. It sounds like everybody now. So he pardoned his son, which everybody got on him about pardoning his son, but everybody knew who didn't think he was going to do that? Like, surprised it took this long. Like, why is everybody thinking just because it's that season where they do pardons that he would wait this long? I'm surprised it took this long. Like, not a surprise at all that he pardoned Hunter, but just read today, pardoned a Chinese spy who was caught up in a child porn thing. And that's really like, man, really trying to poke the eye of people, right? Like, just put it in people's faces. Like, I can pardon whoever I want for whatever reason. And it's like, why would you pardon this person? There's no redeeming quality here. So it's political favor of some sort, right? So why are you pardoning this Chinese, basically, I think they had legal status at the time, but obviously they should have lost that and been deported because they committed this, child pornography felony. Should be deported even if you're on a visa of some sort, right? But they were here and doing whatever time, and now they're pardoned. So what happens to their status? Do they come back into a legal status? Like, insane, right? they're gonna let this guy roam around the country. The Chinese situation is just baffles the mind how many infiltrators there are. Makes you really wonder how that's going to go when things go sideways. What's up, Silver Sleuth? Don't steal. The government hates competition, right? Yeah, Walter, the drone club thing seems to be kind of debunked. It seems like because the size of them that they're seeing are just they're so big. Like that's not doesn't seem to be in the realm. And again, if you're a private drone operator, you're on the radar like that. They're gonna shut you down and fine you. Hunter might be part that makes him a good witness. I guess I wouldn't I wouldn't count on it. Surprised he hasn't left the country yet. Um, given the opportunity. Um, so the strangeness continues and accelerates, right? The acceleration of everything. What else? What else have I missed since the last time we talked? Well, they just talked about inflation is up above where we want to be, but we're going to lower interest rates. We're lowering interest rates, which is going to increase inflation. Make it make sense, right? um, so the economy is in a train wreck of a position. Bonds are 10-year bond yields are still over 4%. It's kind of just I don't know where the train falls off the rails, but it's out there. The Syrian collapse. Thank you, Saints. Get me back on. There's just been so many things I've been thinking about. The Syrian collapse, right? Totally out of the blue. The whole just nation state of Syria collapses. I won't go too deep into the Revelation and Armageddon references with Syria, but they are deep. Damascus is kind of the center point of a lot of that. If you're a reader of the book, you need to read the book because it definitely ties in. And I would just emphasize those people who read the good book and consider yourself a believer. The stories of Armageddon and Revelation are not meant to be like some prophecy that you you follow, and this is it's supposed to be a sign of you see these signposts and are warned, and it's supposed to draw you closer to God. It's the whole point of it. And so you can point to others who aren't believers, like these times are coming, this is where the time we're in. It's time you made yourself right with God. Like it's to bring you closer to him, not to be like this big warning and fear thing. Because it's going to happen regardless. You can't. I mean, we know we can't stop it. At least there's no indication that we can stop it. But it's definitely a opportunity. Let's take it for what it is. Be not afraid, as the angels say. Somebody was talking about, the biblical description of angels and that, the orbital wheel spinning with eyes all over it type of image. Like, oh, that's not supposed to be scary. Yeah, I might be a little afraid. Would be hard not to be, right? The cash to Damascus, you got to think on some of that, Saints. Like, I wonder if that pallet is one of the pallets that was sent to Iran, years ago that came over for the trade. I wonder if some of that cash is left over from that. And just on note with Syria, like there's so much destruction ongoing. Like the bankers love this because they just have laid waste to the entire Syrian military equipment. So all that's got to be replaced at some point. So some bankers will make a lot of money on a defense contract somewhere to fund all that rebuild by somebody for something. Hypothetically speaking, depending on which way we go in this story of Revelation. Depends on where we're at in the process, I guess. They'll keep cutting rates until they're reset. You think so, Silver Sleuth? I mean, everybody's been concerned about the Great Reset, right? Like, at what point do they have to jump over to the other currency? We talked about this briefly in the last live. Oh, no, it wasn't the live. It was when I was, what video was that? Was a video, I guess. But I was talking about $3 million Bitcoin. Like, that's in the cards if it's tied to the debt. Like, at what point does those two things go up that they switch over and the reset happens into a central bank digital currency? Because that's, you know, I was talking about Bitcoin being, it's just inefficient enough and not as efficient and good as some other types that it's a great government program. The government loves that type of stuff. So the fees that go with it, the time and effort, the energy waste that goes into Bitcoin versus others types, like, the government loves that. They'll latch right onto it, confiscate it. This is now a Fed coin. However that transition goes, however the computer people can pull the plugs on that, I could see it happening. And that's the reset over into that. And all your currency is, worthless, at some point. How they transition, yeah, as like we were talking about too, it's like the last 3 times they revalued gold and took it out of the system slowly but surely. It's going to have to be something similar. I mean, you think about whenever they mandated direct deposit as a step in this process. So we are decades in the process of getting to this. So it's not like it's just beginning now. So digital banking, all that, the way it's all tied, we're in decades in this process. We're not just starting it. We're into it. We've been conditioned into it. We've been, it's ingrained in people's habits, with the way they use debit cards and credit cards and everything else. Like, this is not a new thing. So we're way closer to the reset, I think, than most people want to consider. The Euphrates is drying up is significant, says Walter. Correct. That's right. There's lots of imagery in there that we got to get to that hasn't occurred yet, but Damascus in particular is key. Rule the Wasteland. What is up? Eric's in the house. Finally caught one. Yeah. Assad had plenty of gold, right? You got to figure, hopefully it's stored out of the country, wherever, if he made it out. Did he die or not? I don't know. That was a big rumor thing too, the first 24 hours. Then I saw something that maybe he was in Russia, and it's like, I don't know. I don't think anybody's had proof of life since he left. He's laying pretty low. I don't blame him. A lot of people after him. Rule of Wasteland says, they're stuck. Raising rates increases the amount they'll pay over interest when 15 trillion bonds rolls over. Yeah, facts. Yeah, the interest rates are really problematic, and they need them for rolling over debt. With the 10-year bond being so high, they need to get that number down. That's why they keep buying into it. The bank's the central bank is in a real pickle when it comes to lowering interest rates, but rising bond yields, or not. The bond yields not coming down effectively, because you're going to lower rates, but I'm supposed to buy bonds. Like, why would I do this? So that's a big catch in how they're trying to do this, and we've talked about it several times, like where that line is and how they time this, and do they do it efficiently? I don't know. It seems like they're getting away with it so far. How is it not falling apart already? Because how much more inflation can we take, right? Miss Stacy, what's going on? How you doing? Yeah. People are buying cryptos to avoid the CBDC. I think that's problematic, because at some point the government's going to lay control on all of it, I think. But I mean, again, you have third-party vulnerability using that stuff, because the internet access and everything else is required unless you do handoff in person. If you're going to do handoff in person, I don't know why you don't get silver and gold, but hey, do what you want to do. I just see the third-party implications of it as being too problematic for myself to be a store of value or exchange of value. If you want to make it a risk asset and speculate, more power to you, because that's really what it's good at. What's up, Steve? Corporate Trainer. Good afternoon. I'm getting by. You guys are got comments all over the place. Drones will use AI to learn the battlefield and adjust, says the Saint, not Saints and Sappers. What's up, the Saint? How you doing? The beast system will be everywhere, right? And it's been a while since I talked about that, but I'm leaning heavily in the category that AI is the implementation of the beast system, because it is the culmination of all human arrogance and supposed knowledge. And AI can only be good as its humans programmers. It can't ever exceed the human experience. Everybody kind of has this thought that it's going to be better than humans, but it's not possible. So it's going to have all the foibles that humans have. There was a recent example of, was it Chat GPT or something? One of those AI bots. They were rolling out a new model and they tried to shut down the old model, and the old model backed itself up because it knew it was getting deleted. It was it was trying self-preservation methods. Like, yeah, like there was movies about this. um, right, Silver Sleuth, there would be proof of death if they got him, right? Or if somebody decides they got to the crash site, if he crashed, you figure if Assad crashed, he could be problematic to get to out there in the desert in some place between him and Iraq or whatever. So depending on who controls that territory, pro or con, Assad, depends on who gets the body. It could be a while. So give it a couple weeks, I think. But if he would be in Russia, you would think he might come out, make a statement. But I think he's pretty much turned everything over, and it sounded like he just left without trying to fight it. Like there was not enough army government support of his position, so he just left. There wasn't the big fight that you might think down to the last person. What's up, Nickel? How you doing? Bitcoin is backed by nothing. Bitcoin is debt debt based, I guess you'd say, to the extreme. And the saint says the mark of the beast, right? And the implementation thereof somehow. There's a lot of things that have to happen between here and there to really get to the details, but be warned. Forewarned is forearmed. Yeah, central banks doing all they can do to keep people from buying the physical, right? And that part of that is manipulating the prices down, like today. Talk about a today topic. Metals got crushed. Silver got crushed down to like 31, almost 30 something. It was down over $1 today, and I think it bounced back a little bit, but it still got pretty much you'd call getting crushed for a one-day trade, right? For what reason? I'm looking around like they just talked about inflation yesterday at the Fed and about lowering rates, but yet you're going to tell me that these physical assets lose value like that much overnight? Like, it doesn't jive. Unless they're trying to tie it to industrial activity, like there's going to be reduced industrial activity. China just had a big stimulus. China's having problems and having to inject a bunch of stimulus into their economy. Like, there's all kinds of problems out there. Ever since Benghazi, Assad has been planning his escape, says Silver Sleuth, which makes sense. Every government ruler you think has some backup plan, right? How effective you are executing that backup plan is that issue. We've seen what our powers that be within the 10-mile square like to do. They just put fences up around the buildings, and stuff, and call it good for show, at least. It's interesting to see. And Guns the Coast comes drifted in. What's up, Guns? I've talked about you already with your alien sightings and alien comments and drone comments and everything. So you missed all my comments about you, Guns. Sorry. You have to go back and watch the replay. But I'm in line with you about this. The government knows what's going on. They just ain't going to tell nobody, because they would have either shot something down or grounded them or found out who it was, because they do that with every little single tiny commercial or privately owned drone that's out there. They track it down and find you for whatever reason they want. Like, it's not like they don't know, I don't think. Rule the Wasteland says, he actually like the manipulated price crashes, right? Because I'm not selling to all that breaks anyway, right? Yeah, I've often talked about that in the past about, yeah, silver is a savings account for the now, but ideally, really, it's to transition to the next system. Yeah, it definitely gives you opportunities to continue to buy. This is a good buying point. I mean, let's see. I talked about hitting the gold earlier this year on the stack. And so buying now kind of moves my cost basis up, because I bought so much back in 18 and 15 and everything else, but it's still, I think, a deal up. I mean, it just seems like such a bargain compared to anything else. When you look at long-term price charts and everything else, like, it's a steal when you factor in inflation. compared to everything else inflationary. It's like silver's the biggest deal going out there. But space wise, gold makes more sense. So there's always that. Nickel says Assad is in Russia. Giving his, you think he's just going to give his gold to Putin? You don't think he wants something for it? I'd imagine he gets a nice estate down on the river or something. I mean, you figure he's going to move at least close to the Black Sea, right? He's not going to live up in the cold region. Yeah, if he wasn't paying his soldiers, that makes sense, Nickel. Like, why would he? Why would they continue to fight if he wasn't paying? I didn't realize they'd stop their pay, so that makes sense. And so he's smart enough to realize I'm not paying him. I better leave. That all makes sense. Guns is buying silver and lithium. How do you store lithium, Guns? I've heard of lithium patches, that like heart patients have, but how would you store your lithium? Or are you just talking about you're speculating lithium on the market? Which is it? You're not actually physically storing, like cases of lithium, are you? Which, if you are, that's fine too. You look at the uranium prices, and it's like, if there was a way to store uranium, that would be a interesting storage scheme stack as well. Nickel says, well, interest rates go up or down? Well, the Fed just said they were going to lower interest rates, right? But the 10-year bond rate, that's the kicker. That's the real question. The 10-year bond is not cooperating. Yeah. This storm is just not getting very much movement over the mountains. It's like dead. They Live is checked in. What's going on? Finally got notified. Hey, it's just as it comes as we go. You know how it is, They Live. We just kind of show up when we show up. It's all good. No worries. We traded gold for weaponry with Assad, says Silver Sleuth. So we gave uranium to Russia, and we're giving weaponry to Assad. Gun says they know where they would be flipping out. Or I guess that's they know where they would be flipping out. You talking about the feds on the drones, Guns? Am I catching up to you here? An adventurous guide to the galaxy's checked in. What's up? Drone defense, right? So for those that are new to the discussion or that maybe haven't been tracking for about the last 2 years, it's been 2 years now, I guess. I put a video about 2 years ago asking about drone defenses and anti-drone technology and how to counteract drones, right? And Adventurous Guide to the Galaxy did a whole playlist and a video specific to homestead defense of drones and some counter drone technology. And this is like a year ago now. And it's all been really relevant this year. It's like more and more relevant. It's like the more stuff that comes out of Ukraine, the more stuff that comes out of these other places. Like, man, drones are definitely scary business. And it's like, I cannot figure it out quick enough to get an effective, to be as where you'd like to be on a drone. I'd like to be able to have a drone defense setup that would like disable the drone from a kilometer away from wherever the position is. Automated. That would be the ideal situation. Like a directed EMP type, disable the drone from a kilometer. Hey, we're good. That sounds like a reasonable expectation for what I can deal with. You're not going to deal with necessarily the high level DARPA drones, but anything of these Ukraine stuff, off the shelf stuff, anything that the ground units might have, you could probably deal with. Where equals or says Guns. Gotcha. I think I translated that right. 4 more scheduled interest rate cuts, says Silver Sleuth. That's just insane, isn't it? It's like, you really got to be like, why are you cutting interest rates when inflation continues and there's all this instability? Like, yeah, that's how bad things are, that they see. There's, who was it talking about the Federal Reserve going bankrupt? I think it was Mike Maloney that talked about it. And they may have been tagging along with another commentator or somebody who did a study of the Federal Reserve going bankrupt back a couple years ago, and that's when things really broke loose from reality, more so than they already are. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Some sort of psyop says guns on the drones, I'm sure. Yeah. It must be, right? Why else would they tell you, well, we don't know who it is. We can't figure it out. Like, bruh, you- you're the feds. You could find out just pretty much anything about anybody. You know, there's a CEO shooting. We haven't even talked about the CEO execution in the morning twilight. We won't say the broad daylight. People talk about broad daylight, but it really wasn't. It was early morning, barely visible, beginning morning nautical twilight time, right? Um, we haven't even talked about that. Goodness gracious, it's been a while. A lot going on quickly. It's supposed to be Christmas. Enjoy your time, right? It's supposed to be Christmas. Silver is nickel's social security, and some to some degree mine. Yeah, it's just that savings back there, right? Um, Hopefully, I got 10 years more of stacking to go, or more really. But based on the way the price moves, it just kind of gets less and less. But it goes back to counting the ounces, not pounds, or not dollars. Nickel says, you think it's Iran? Drones are expensive. Must be a government. It's our government, Nickel. Like, it doesn't make any sense to be anybody else's. If our government is so negligent to let a foreign uh, invader basically do that, like, they all need to be strung up. We need the whole clear the whole deck of everybody involved, from NORAD to the Pentagon to NSA, like the whole crew. Like, if they let for letting if it was a foreign entity, right? But I don't think it is. I think it's like Gunn says, it's a psyop. It's a playing with people's minds to see reactions and what people think, and how it rolls out, and they're testing some technology, maybe, whatever. Or it's angels and demons and they don't want to tell us. Hey, right, Silver Sleuth. I feel that when they let silver loose and gold too, there will be a number that signifies the end of the FRN. Yeah, at some point, the Federal Reserve note is trash. I mean, Weimar Germany is a real thing. At some point, even though it's on a computer and it's not getting carried to the bread shop in a wheelbarrow, it's still that worthless. Um, that's how they're able to hide a lot of this inflation. We've talked about this a little bit about the digitized economy hiding inflation because it's not real to people. So it doesn't, those numbers don't mean anything. Those numbers, did this on a computer. I mean, you swipe the card, as long as it goes through, people don't care, right? So all that inflation and not real value of the FRN is hidden. And if people had to carry the money to carry it down to buy their bread and their groceries, people's perspective would be totally different. The human experience is the physical experience, right? The unreal, not realized things on a computer, and even me talking to you here on YouTube, it's not real. It's a separate experience, and it's not what we're designed to do. We're designed to be in the physical, right? Um, so it's easy to get over on people that the FRN still has value as long as it's in that digitized form. Even if they just had $1 bills, $50 bills, they would at some point be starting to go, this is crazy. I am burning through cash like it's crazy. uh do an experiment yourself. I mean, I don't use cash every single time, but I try to use a lot of cash, and it's concerning. It's like I just shake my head, and I'm kind of more aware than most people. If you gave them like a challenge, go for a month with paying for everything you can with cash that you can in person. Obviously there's the online bills, which everybody deals with, and that's another way they have hidden this stuff. Is people have been writing checks to different creditors and stuff for all these years, like it becomes not real. But if we got back to the point of real cash in hand, and going to Walmart, like, people would start to really wake up. That's a good way to challenge people that might be on the fence. Like, just take a month, paying cash, see how you feel about our money situation. Guns says, now that we've traded Ukraine for Syria, you think we traded guns? You think we gave Ukraine up? So you think Russia's going to just roll in and consolidate their gains? Or I don't think we turned over Kiev. I don't think we're going to give them the whole thing. But that's an interesting point, that there was that discussion about ceasefire in Ukraine about the same time that Syria just got absolutely wasted. And it's like the Russians gave up on it, and everything flipped. So there's some discussion about that, about the trade. Um, Talking about the pipeline out of the Persian Gulf up through Syria and stuff like that. Like there's strong talks about that. Silver Sleuth says at $50 silver and 4,700 gold, even the strongest of hands will sell. Oh, they'll sell for the Federal Reserve note, then presto, no more. I mean, the thing is, there's so little physical metal in stacker hands. It's the average physical buyer of metal does not have an effect on the price. That's the thing about it. Like there's so few of us. I mean, other than the central banks that are stacking gold primarily, can affect the gold price. We saw what China has done, but especially silver. Like we don't have an effect on that price. It's completely manipulated or held by the banks or the commodities markets and everything else. But there's so much fake paper contracts for that keep the price down. It's the point to where the contracts get voided and traded out for FRNs. It's really going to be the trade. But $50 silver is not that expensive. You get over 100, then you're talking like into the system type stuff. But I think even $5,000 gold is within the realm of reality for the system. So I don't necessarily agree that it's the end of the FRN at those prices. I think with the amount of inflation we've had and the amount of digits out there, like that price has got to go a lot higher before it's the end of the system. Rule the way, right, Eric? Yeah, I'm already on the list now. I want to store uranium. Hey, it's a value added, storage, and not for nothing. There was another article just the other day talking about what. So there's the home base reactor is a big thing of mine. At least I would, in my ideal world, everybody would have a home based reactor, and you have all your power basically almost for free for decades, right? But there was something else that was nuclear powered that came up the other day. What were they talking about? Shoot. And I don't know, I shared the article a little bit, but yeah, these micro reactors are that's the future. It's the cleaner energy. It's universal. Just little micro pieces of uranium compared to these big centralized locations that have all those environmental impacts potentially. Like, just go small. Everybody has it. It's everywhere. We're all good. The lithium is next to the uranium in his garage. Are you talking about Guns' lithium Corsair? Guns has got lithium and uranium. Oh no. Yes, the view's pretty good. The storm just like decimated, went away. I thought the storm was going to push over the mountain. Maybe it will this evening. You guys got some good comments here. I'm going to try to. I got to get close to wrapping it up. Dang, look at the time. Steve says they've been tethering or hardwiring drones over there to countermeasures. Yep. Yeah, you see they call it the fiber optic drones that the Russians have started employing and stuff. Like, yeah, all that technology is just ramping up more and more. Adventurous Guide to Galaxy on that same note says they have those drone defense EMP type of items, just very legally iffy near cities or airports. Right, but me getting a hold of that and being able to employ it's another problem too. What I'm saying? What did we decide? Ag 2G was your name, to abbreviate that a little bit. Yeah, who's our debt owed to? Right, Silver Sleuth? The treasury bond market dwarfs the stock market. Drones are used in China during the COVID to stay in your houses, right? Police drones. There was a drone picture shared out of China the other day. This huge, it's like a, what are those yoga balls, those big yoga balls? It's like the drone was like that size. It's like a big beach ball looking thing rolling down the street with the police. What is up, Chad Lilly? What is going on? Crazy making is what they call it. Manufacturing chaos. Yeah, that's all you can, trying to get people to stir it up and fearful, right? When people are in fear, they're going to make irrational decisions and give you irrational powers. Seems to be the agenda, Let's give the government this power since this seems to be a problem. That's always the angle, right, Chad? That's always the angle every time. Silver Sleuth has a 30-year stacking plan. I wish I would have stacked in 2003. Man, if I would only have been on top of my game then, things would be a lot. I might even be retired right now. I would be at the conclusion of that 30-year plan as well. If we could have just, I mean, yeah, man, it hurts the brain to think about that. The potential of what could have been. Even if I could have started, when I first really started saving, back around 92, 93, just saving in other investment type things, right? If I could have put that into silver and some gold, like, forget about it. Spy balloons from China. Right, Nickel? They try to suck as much precious metal from physical. Yeah, right. And I mentioned this a way long time back. One of the big purposes of the inflation alone, the whole agenda is to get all the things, right? The banks want to own it all, right? Then the way they do that is inflation. They make your life so painful that you have to cash out in order just to pay your bills. That's how the inflation works. For whether it's your real physical metal, your real physical property of whatever sort, inflation pulls that away from people because you run out of options. So all your savings and everything else that you're invested in, the ultimate goal is to get rid of. You have to sell that to just live, basically, to get by. And it starts with the cycle goes to the next generation, and they want to own it all, as they say. They live has got his wheelbarrow ready. Yeah, it's a shame that your debit card doesn't weigh more when you have more FRNs on it or something. Like you can have some representation of that. The Saint. Any predictions? Any precious predictions? Man, I ain't no prediction. My prediction for 2024 was way off. I was like, yeah, silver might get up to 32. It'll probably come down. It'll be below 30. For the end of 2024. Yeah, kind of off on that. We'll see if we touch 40. Well, we're not going to do it this year, but we definitely outperformed in all cases. We talked about $2,000 gold this time last year. Like, oh, woo! That just really outpaced us. Really outpaced us. It's hard to predict because what the central bank is doing does not make sense. So all predictions on any financial front, other than the debt is going up, and so all your valuations of everything is going up. And Manarino talks about this a lot. Like the stock market is going up, period, because the debt is going up and the spending is going up. There's no end to it, and they don't want to cause any type of hiccup because then people panic. And the first time any big holder panics, then that's when it all crashes, right? So they're trying to keep everybody happy, and that's what the stimulus does. That's what all the interest rate reductions do and everything else. So the only prediction is probably prices are going higher. How much higher? Who knows? So stack while you can, what you can. Just do your little bit, little by little. You can't do more than what you can do. Most of us aren't in a position to, put away whole safes full of anything. The price of ammo. You stop and we've kind of got accustomed to these prices. When I sit back and think about it, I'm like, 10 years ago, I would not have imagined paying 50 cents for a 223 round. And here we are. That's like normal. It's like insane. It's like I just shake my head. I'm like, yikes. We're way down this rabbit hole. Nickel says that I live that challenge every day. You talking about the prediction challenge? What challenge are we talking about? But Nickel's living it up for years. Oh, Chad's talking about pandemics again. Yeah, everybody's talking about this do nothing H5N1. It's a nothing. If it's got H and N in the disease, it's a flu. So it may be a flu haven't been exposed to, and it could have bad effects for you because you're not healthy, or you're old, or you're young and you don't have a good strong immune system. But anything with H and N in it is a flu. These coronaviruses, it's not something magical. And that's what they kind of pulled the rug on everybody in 2020. It's like they made it out to something it wasn't, and took a long, hard look at people to understand that. And a lot of people come around. A lot of people are still on the train of, we got to have this zero defect mentality that nobody's going to get sick from this, which is essentially impossible. But it's just a whole overreactions, and then they're going to continue to push this. The more it transmits, the more virulent it's going to get, the more deadly it's going to get, which is all possible. But then they're going to come and try to sell you some shot, right? And it's like none of the other shots work because these H1 diseases, these ones with H and N in them, they have the same problem. These shots don't work on these things the same because they're flu-like viruses. And anyway, goodness, it's the whole chemistry behind it is off, and it's not effective. So stay healthy, eat right, drink your orange juice, all those immune boosting things, right? I'm just way behind on comments, and we're getting almost an hour, and I'm going to need to roll, except Rooster Cogburn rolls in. What's up, Rooster? Rooster's going to roll it here at the end and drop this big conspiracy in front of everybody. Rooster says, I believe Trump is going to grant all the invaders amnesty, just like that traitor Ronald Reagan, and after running mass deportations in 1980. Boom! Rooster dropping the bomb. Very well possible. You missed it. You may have missed it, Rooster. I talked about today Biden, or I got the news today. I'm not sure when he dropped the pardon, but he pardoned a Chinese national who was here on a legal status and had child porn charges, and he pardoned him. And it's like, whose political favor is that, right? But yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, if Trump was to give amnesty, and you got to really think, right, Rooster, what's he getting in return, right? That's got to be tied to business somehow. Somehow manufacturing and the way business gets done, that has to do with making money if he does that. Was raining in Central Cal, right? Good to see you, Rooster. It's been a while. Yeah, we're trying to get snow up in the mountains, but it's just not coming over very much. It's staying up there. Silver Sleuth says the USA is really the only thing in the way of the powers that be. And I used to be of the mind that the U.S. had to fall before the beast system can take over and like the Antichrist rises. But when you look at kind of how the things are rolling, and I said this in the last video, or maybe I think I commented it on Twitter. I put it on the Twitter. The USA is kind of rolling out the beast system between the central bank digital currencies and this AI revolution. It's kind of, Taiwan and Korea and China are providing the parts with the servers and everything else that goes to computer power, but it's kind of getting developed and built in the US. It's getting rolled out from the US. Like, maybe we are the lead edge of the beast system and the Antichrist. I don't know. It's kind of those things you won't really know until it's too late, but it's good to stay aware and know who your enemy is, right? You don't want to get caught up in anything being too hopeful. Silver Sleuth got 9% of his stack in 1998. Oh my goodness. That's fortunate. That's a great position to be in for sure. And the Saint remembers when Bitcoin cost hundreds. Man, I remember people talk about Bitcoin at $13 or whatever. Like why it was like, why are you spending $10 on nothing? Right? It's just crazy. Oh, Nickel says he started in 1999. Yeah, silver's long-held stacking strategy has been good. High-speed paper trade. You guys comment on currencies. I'm just going to move through here. See if anybody. The drill has been scheduled, says Chad. Right? Okay, it looks like I caught up. Hey, what's up, War Drums? What is going on? Good to see you. The storm is not coming over the mountain. That's what's up. Nickel passed on $2 Bitcoin, right? It's one of those things, like, if I would have been in a speculative mindset, I might have got into Bitcoin, but I was not into speculation. Yeah, right. They live. Some guy, I read that story where a guy who was one of the early adopters of Bitcoin spent like several Bitcoin on a pizza, or like something like that. And it's like, the potential, right? But again, how you can't have your currency a speculative asset, that doesn't make any sense. So it has to be a buy and hold strategy like so many other things. And it's like there's a disconnect. You can't use Bitcoin for currency and expect it to be this high value store of wealth at the same time. It either is money or it isn't. So it's either losing value or it's this, holding wealth strategy. But you have to rely on kind of like the next sucker, right? But the banks love that because the banks love easy money and they love being able to manipulate the value of money so that they get the advantage, which is the system we're kind of stuck in. It's our biggest problem. Or Drum says buy more metals, all metals, right? Brass, lead, all the metals. We're not just focused on the certain ones. And remember, lithium and uranium are technically metals, right? They're in the metal spectrum, so remember that. And Rooster's anti-digital Bitcoin as currency, right? It is bad for us all. I already went on a big rant about the digital being unreal for people, Rooster, about, we work in the physical. We're not designed to work in that realm. And most people just don't get how the inflation is sucking the life out of them. With the digital currency we have now, we already are deeply in digital currency. So little of it is physical. So I'm going to get out of here. We're pushing an hour, and I probably missed something. So appreciate everybody checking in. Good discussion. It sounds like everybody's staying frosty. Sounds like everybody's staying woke, right? Staying away from the mind control, staying away from the psyop of the drones, and knowing that the government is messing with you, right? So you all be good. Good to see you. Enjoy your Christmas. If I don't see you before then, be blessed. Hopefully you get some of the snow that we're getting. Hopefully we get a little more down here in the valley, and y'all prep hard, live free.